Hello again. I know I've been gone for a minute. I honestly do not feel the need to always come on here and say something if I don't really have something to say. There's no particular schedule I'm trying to keep up with, even though there was. And I think that that's part of the reason why I don't feel so pushed or pressed to come on here and speak. Because if I'm not speaking here, I will remind you I am speaking on social media and other places and spaces. But today I realized something because I had a little help that I was still in some way, even if it's a minimal way, I was still in some way people pleasing as it pertains to my family. And I need to address it in a way that I hopefully benefit somebody else who still have these underlying issues. Now, during the holidays, on a previous video, I spoke on family members and, some kind of separation from them for your mental health or well-being being something that a lot of people deal with, especially during the holidays. But it also extends to when they just call and need something or want something from you. I had a relative call me today. Now, my birthday's coming up. Now, I don't really celebrate it all that much. I will go out to the levee, go sit by the water, and I typically enjoy that day either with myself, by myself, or with close friends. It's very rarely is there a big old party or something like that. I don't necessarily need or care about all of that. I have fun regardless of what I'm going to be doing, but it always tells me and teaches me those who are here with and for me in my life, not as a tool to be used, but as someone they genuinely care about. I saw a video clip, I can't remember who it was, and I'm sorry about that, but she made it clear she was also an Aquarius, and she said, I don't really celebrate. I like celebrating my birthday by myself at home, or taking myself out to eat, or having a spa day. I don't want to worry about nobody else's schedules, nobody else's pockets, nobody else's worries, nobody else's troubles. I want to just celebrate it because it's my day. And so I've elected, and this is quoting her, she's elected to start celebrating at solo dolo or with maybe one or two people that are reliably easy to enjoy things with. And I realized I had been electing to do that for quite some time now, and I don't feel any ways about it. I used to feel somewhat guilty when people ask me, what are you doing for your birthday? And like, now I gotta do something because enough people have asked me, what are you doing for your birthday? I also have a group of friends that I've talked about before where if it's their birthday and their birthday's near mine, since their birthday's near mine and I show up, they make sure I have a cake at the table just like theirs. Now, I don't mind hanging out with folk like that. Not that they have to do that or are obligated to do that, but the fact that they do that without me having to ask, that kind of thing. I don't want to make it a chore or something I have to get ready for and prepare for. It's another job and also additional expenses that I do not want to fork out. So I'm not obligated, nor do I have to, and that's something I have to remind myself of. So back to this call. So I have relatives who are celebrating a big day soon, and one of the relatives that are helping them celebrate their big day and coordinating everything just brings up my phone, and I haven't talked to this relative in literal years, and I didn't even know this relative had my phone number. They called me and was like, oh, we're in a bind, we need some financial help, and I was like out of the blue, and I was like, okay. And I thought about it for a second, and one of the things I can say about those who are closest to me, every now and again when I'm not sure whether or not I'm doing the people pleasing thing again, in a sense of feeling like I need to go save them or help them, even if I have extra, do I have to do that? Whether I want to or not never really occurred to me. If somebody asks me for help and I got it, I give it. And that's not always a healthy way of being, is what I'm expressing to you right now. And I've understood that and understood that for quite some time now. Doesn't mean that there's certain people and certain members that will ask me for something, and I'm like, okay, yeah, yeah, I will move my schedule around, I will move my pockets around, I will do whatever I need to do to make sure you're okay. And sometimes at the end of it, I'm not okay. But I suck that up because I feel like I am stronger to be able to handle not being okay than they are. But in essence, I am in some way crippling them to be able to do and stand on their own 2 feet and do for themselves. But my first thought this time around was like, why would you be putting all this together if you ain't got the finances in which to do that? Why are you asking me? And then I'm like, well, give me a moment, I will get back to you. And that get back to you was the time I needed to really think it over instead of saying yes, which is something that there is an improvement in it. There's something I would have done in the past that said, yeah, I'll go ahead and help you because I have it, right? This time I was like, let me think about it, which I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for enough living and enough life to have figured that part out. And I was like, well, when I'm unsure about something, and I was unsure, there are specific people in my life that I'm grateful for that I can go and ask. And they're like, well, you're always bailing people out. You're always helping people out. But it's like, based on the conversation we just had, you haven't talked to this relative in years. I'm like, no, I haven't. When's the last time they supported you in anything? Never. Did he even know that your birthday was coming up? Did he even wish you a happy birthday or say hi, goodbye, good morning? I'm like, no. He made a joke about the fact that you didn't recognize his voice or his number, even though he's had your number this whole time. Ain't checked on you once. But he gonna call you to help him out? Think about it. I was like, it seems so simple when somebody else says it. And I do this all the time for others. Like, somebody comes to me with that same scenario and I would give them the same advisement. But I wasn't practicing it in my own life. It's in specific circumstances. And today is like the last time I'm going to have to ask those questions outside of myself, because it made me have a big realization that I still sometimes feel like I have to help everybody that asks me for it if I can. And the truth is, you do not. It doesn't make you a bad person. That's the point. The second point of it doesn't make you a horrible person for saying no, even if you can. And I sat with that. If I got the phone, I sat with it for a moment, and I was like, okay, then I don't have to. And I will not be. Not only will I not be joining you on that day, I will not be giving you anything to go towards this function or whatever you're doing, because that doesn't seem like it's organized or put together well anyway. And I didn't really appreciate the way it was done, the way it was asked, and the fact that I haven't been checked on in God knows how long by this same group of folks. I'm like, you know what? I love you still. But the answer is no. Oh, I love you still, but the answer is no. And it took a long time for me to get there. I love you still, but the answer is no. There's always an Aries that, or Sagittarius, like if those fire signs will be the first ones to be like, I'd rather fight you than say yes when I don't want to. but it was more of a thing that I needed to sit down and really mull over in my mind, because typically if somebody needs help, no matter what it is, you need somebody to help you move, I got you. You need somebody to sit at the hospital with you, I got you. You need extra money for bills, I got you. You have a activity or something that you need help with, I got you. And sometimes I got you doesn't put me any kind of bind, but I wouldn't stop there. I'm wondering if anybody who's hearing my voice can understand this. There are times where I got you meant that I'm actually sacrificing something, but here's the caveat. Sacrificing your time, money, energy, anything of yourself for somebody you love, for me, doesn't feel like it has effort. It's a no-brainer for me. It always has been. But also, it has not always benefited me. And I would be confused as to why. So I have to give myself guidelines and structure my mind in such a way where is there reciprocity? I have to ask that question. Now, is there some level of reciprocity? But that goes against something that's within me. Unconditional love. I love people unconditionally. I can be mad at you, And deep down to my core, you'll think, I don't never want to see you again, never want to talk to you again. We Aquarius are very good at having a stone face, not in a pretend way. It's just how we are. But deep down in my soul and in my heart, once I love you, I always love you. There is no doubt about that within me, and I have no embarrassment about that feeling. That doesn't mean I'm going to tolerate mistreatment always. But there are times where I've realized, because I don't check the box, is there reciprocity? That sometimes mistreatment comes along with that unconditional love, because I am not loving myself fully enough, because I'm not checking whether the box of reciprocity has been checked. Now, there are times where I do not expect reciprocity at all. A long time ago, there was this YouTuber that, this was long before TikTok or anything like that, long before payments and all that on the internet was a thing for screen time in a very big way. And she inspired me when she first started. I mean, she had maybe about 100 to maybe 300 followers. And when I first started watching her out of nowhere, and it was not a thing that I would do, but just something about her energy, I was like, you know what? I actually like this person, and I want to support this person. But how do we do that? We just view their comment. That's the best we can do it back then. Anyway, and utilize her services. That's what I did. But what she inspired me to do, and I shared it with anybody who would listen at the time, because I always stop, even when my children were little, we would always stop and they would ask me questions about it, and my answer was always the same. Whenever somebody who appeared to be home insecure asking for assistance or something, we would always stop and give them a little something and then keep moving on our day. And there would sometimes be questions about whether or not, why are you giving this person money but you don't know what they're going to do with it? And my genuine response was always, what they do with this is none of my business. I'm giving this person help because I have it to give, and I don't expect anything back, and that's just my genuine response. But there are times where I felt like I wanted to do more. What can I do more to help this person out in their day other than giving them money out of my pocket, right? So that person inspired me, because she was making bags where she was putting toiletries and little essentials inside of individual bags and giving them out to home insecure people in her environment. So it inspired me to do that. So I started to do that. And from time to time, I still do that when I'm financially able to do that. And it gives me so much pleasure and joy to do it. And don't ask me why, because there's some part of me that's always filled with guilt. And I'm still in this life. I hope I overcome that. But it's like, why is this giving me so much pleasure when someone is home insecure and it gives me pleasure to give them something? Why is this giving me pleasure when that person is still home insecure when I leave? Why is this giving me pleasure? All right, you're a bad person. Like, it's not giving me pleasure to see them be home insecure. It's giving me pleasure to give them the thing, but I still feel somehow guilty about it. Child, I have a Virgo stellium. Anyway, guilt comes along with it, I suppose, and Saturn is included in that. Saturn and Jupiter is included in that. Child, in my 9th house. Can you believe the luck I got? And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm assuming it's for a purpose, but it's been sometimes rough with those placements being as such. Anyway, that's the people who know about astrology. Either way, that's just a part of my personality makeup. It's something I work through and work with on a regular basis. But in situations like that, where somebody who is in need and I really genuinely want to do the thing, even if it costs me something, it gives me the reciprocity I get from it is the feeling I get from having helped that person. So that box is checked in that way. And that's the only times really outside of that I don't need to check the reciprocity box based on what the person does. I'm giving that to you for free. It don't have to be about someone who's home insecure, but if you're giving with a free heart and a free mind, and when you're done with that giving, you don't feel weird, awkward, or some other emotion that is negative about it, then the reciprocity box has been checked. And that also gives you confirmation that you had it to give, whether it be energetically, financially, physically, you had it to give. You'll know if it was too expensive for you. At the end of the day, you kind of regret having done it. That's the only way I've figured out. I don't know if the reciprocity box has been checked. Okay? You're getting something for giving something, and we're inherently about that as human beings. How we do that, how we function within that matters, and whether we look at ourselves in the mirror and determine whether we're a balanced person or an imbalanced person. Not necessarily good or evil or good or bad, right? And so that today was my challenge. If it was a test, I don't know if I passed or failed. Maybe I got a C grade because I still had to talk to somebody, be like, I initially I wanted to just say yes, even though part of me was like, but why though? Because it was someone who is a family member. The fact that I had to talk it over and mull it over with someone else, there's some part of me that wanted to say no, I needed permission. And I need to work on that. I realize that's what I need to work on, is to have the permission to say no and not feel like I'm an awful human being for having said so. Now, I do have good boundaries with people who have shown me repeatedly that there is no reciprocity box, let alone one to be checked. Doesn't mean I have to be unkind or rude to them. Another thing I'm working on is there are people who go to spaces I enjoy to go to, and they go to them regularly just like I go to them, and they want to small talk me after they did me dirty. And it's very, very hard not to do that, because I don't want to have negative energy in my environment if I enjoy where I'm going in those spaces. So navigating that is something I'm learning to do. Like, I can have some surface level talk to you, but I don't want to be your friend. I make that abundantly clear. But also, sometimes I don't even want to have the small talk with you once I've determined, based on your current vibe, that, you know, reciprocity is not part of your makeup necessarily. I'm kind of like over it. We don't need to speak. But also, I think there's a part of me that's still in that same, not people pleasing, but more like, I like comfort and easiness in my environment. I like joy and pleasure in the environments I'm going to receive joy and pleasure from. I don't want to have a perceived enemy there. But sometimes that's inevitable. So I'll have to figure that part out completely. But I figured it out enough to make myself comfortable, and I'm okay with that. Okay? Now, an additional thing I think warrants analysis is, right now, things are tense and pensive in a lot of ways for a lot of people. I'm going to make something abundantly clear to you. Even though on here I'm presenting more of my professional persona, it's still me, inherently me. I think that's part of the reason why sometimes I did not get on well in professional environments in which I was working with a lot of the people. Now, I get on well with them. It's just that there are times where out of nowhere, like supervisors and bosses and things like that, for no reason at all, would be intimidated just by me walking in a room, and I'd beat myself up for that and try to make myself smaller so they didn't feel that. I don't do that no more. I don't do that no more. Somebody hire me, you can get a hard worker and somebody who's a team player, but what I'm not going to do is pretend that I'm not as beautiful and abundant and capable as I absolutely am, so you can feel better. So that's a work in progress, not for me, but for whoever is lucky enough to hire me if I choose to work again outside the home. In that same frame, understanding that pensive energy that a lot of us are experiencing after recent events, it's sometimes hard to navigate when you're around people who you are fully aware that seems to have an idea of what's balanced, and excuse me, I told y'all sometimes the air comes up. I'm not going to start this video over again because I don't read from the script, I read from the heart. And sometimes starting over again just feels so false. Nothing about just follow me on the side street, sometimes I go on them. Nothing about my environment or its setup. This is my couch in the way it always is. With my sparkle pillow that, I can do the things with nearby in case I want to do the things. And this is just how my couch is set up. I don't have any special lights or anything like that. This is not to knock anybody who does all that. This is just I'm letting you know how I am. I'm not reading from a script. I never do. I have a topic in mind when I start these videos. I have something on my heart, and then I go to talk. Period. I'm not reading from any book. I just know things that I know, and I don't know things that I don't know. And I hope to learn them soon. Anything that I don't know. And I'm open to all of those things. So, excuse me if I have a little come out during these times when I'm talking, because I'm not going to start over. I'm just telling you right now. If you watch me, I'm not going to start over. Anyway, back to the topic. You don't... This is my way of saying I'm with you. I understand there are people in your environment and in your life possibly that voted in a way that made you feel like they don't care about anybody but themselves, or support things that are inherently imbalanced for all people. If only some people are benefiting from something and you're one of those people that benefit and you want to make sure nobody else can benefit from that thing, I can understand and experience in real time why that feels so off-putting. I'm going to continue to say that you don't have to make an enemy out of those people, but you can understand how far the reciprocity will go as it pertains to the seriousness in which you take their actions, words, and anything else, right? I'm not really dependent upon people who have shown me repeatedly that they don't care about the plight of everyone. And do everybody have to care about the plight of everyone? No. It doesn't inherently make them evil. It just makes them a bit selfish in a way that doesn't work for me. But it's not my job, nor did I want it to be, to say, okay, you're probably one of the most awful human beings on the planet, which is something that a lot of people are doing right now. I don't subscribe to such things. I just think that we're all learning at different wavelengths. And there's a part of the dynamic that talks about the elevation and evolution of human beings. And that as it pertains to the conscious awareness of self and those around them. And that's something I'm going to elaborate more on in the second video today, because I haven't been fit for a while. So that those Virgo stellium be Virgoing. It's so weird because I have, this is for the astrology folks, right? I have in my 10th house Libra moon. My moon is conjunct my 10th house. So I have a Libra moon and right next to it, it's like all in the same jumble. Right next to that is the stellium in the 9th house of all those Virgo placements. And that has all the major actions and things like that in my life in that big old jumble of, I think it's Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, some two others. You'd think I would know that at the top of my head, but my bandwidth sometimes nowadays is a little short. All I know is I have all that kind of jumbled in a big old mix and just kind of all knotted up. And so, yeah, there's some part of me that still feels some level of uneasiness with the concept and idea of making enemies with anybody. Not that I will stop what I'm doing to prevent myself from making enemies. Nah, that's not the wave I'm on. The wave I'm on is like, I don't want to be hurtful to you, even if you are attempting to be hurtful to me or others, unless my life and limb is threatened, or vulnerable people in my environment's life and limb are threatened, then I just will let you be what and who you are. The need to control is not something that I want. The need to be in charge is all the time is not something that I want. Now there's sometimes that I'm in those positions. It's just like everyone else. Put your big girl panties and big boy panties on and have to do the work required to exist. But outside of that, I don't want to trouble myself with enemies if I don't absolutely have to. But if I absolutely have to, then I'm going to stand 10 toes down, as the kids say, and do what I feel needs to be done in that moment. Outside of that, I am not going to be sitting there arguing with somebody, wasting and expelling energy on someone who's experiencing cognitive dissonance, someone who's experiencing their their environment based on their social construct and norms. I described what I feel woke is and isn't the last time I talked on here. I think it was the last video or the video before last. But part of it, I think, is whether or not someone escaped their social construct or not. And it's like their identity is attached to all of the things that they were taught to be, as opposed to creating a being within themselves once their brain is fully developed. Like, I can easily look past a 14, 15, or 16-year-old, or even a 21-year-old who has not fully developed their brain yet to be able to shape and form an identity fully. But if somebody is pushing 30 or above and they're spouting things and doing things that goes counterintuitive to who I am as a person, then I just don't have to be their friend, period. I don't have to do any of those things. I don't have to argue with them. And I realize arguing with them is a waste of my time and space. I can take actions, though. I can take actions that is a direct conflict to who and what they are, if I feel like it's detrimental enough to me and the people in my environment. And that's the vibration I choose to be in. We don't have to go above and beyond what we are capable of in that moment either. And that's something I'm learning to do too. Because, honey, going above and beyond used to be how I treat the people who I choose to help in the unhoused community when I have the ability to do that. I will go above and beyond for everybody, whether they were vulnerable or not. But some people create their own misery. I've been a victim of my own self in that way too, honey. And part of it is understanding that even if I disagree with someone, doesn't mean that I have to engage into mortal combat every single time. I can just give you that, and then keep on by my business. You can also do that too, and still just be you. Just saying though. Now, that doesn't mean that you could keep your mouth shut when you see something overtly obtuse. But if it takes joy out of your life every day, it takes joy out of your being every day, then maybe take a step back sometimes and have a gumbo. Okay, for example, if you spend a lot of your time speaking out against injustice, awesome, you're my people. But if you do that so much that it turns you into a surly human being in every other aspect of your life, then I'm going to suggest to you that you step back for a moment and experience some joy. So even if you're doing that kind of work, that you still have joy in your heart. That it doesn't elevate and graduate to something that turns you into a surly, I dropped coffee on myself. I just realized on camera I got a coffee stain. Oh well. And doesn't graduate and elevate to a space where people don't want to be around you, even though you want to be around those people, because all you do is talk about the politics of it all and the conspiracies of it all and the lack of awareness of other people. Well, at some point, consider that it feels condescending to people who are not aware of themselves. It feels off-putting to people who are not aware of themselves. And not everybody in one life is going to come to that realization. Something I've learned, and you can take it if you want it, is that if you're fully your authentic self without having to mask or feeling the need to mask, I say, child, you have to mask at work to turn on the lights, then go ahead and do what you gotta do, boo-boo. But I'm talking about outside of that. You're your full authentic self. You're not pretending for nobody, you're just being you. Guess what? You're going to gravitate towards people, or they're going to gravitate towards you. The mask is what attracts the fake, because the output you're putting out is not truly you. So the people around you are grading on you because that's not who you truly are. So the truth of who you are is internally rebelling against the mask that you wear outside of work. Consider that for a moment. So if you find that your group of people, whether it be family, friends, or otherwise, are constantly getting on your nerves or making you upset, realize you turn control of your whole being to the persona that you pretend to be. And they're only operating out of what you tell them. See, the people I hang out with from time to time, I call them the land of misfit toys because they're beautiful in all the ways. And sometimes they do things that I'm like, that's a choice. But I find that I've learned, not just from my friends, but people who at one point I considered to be my enemies. I've learned that judgment has very little purpose, especially if you can't do nothing about it. And try to control somebody else because they make you feel uncomfortable. That's something inherently not right about that either. Because it's no different than me constantly caping and becoming a hero for somebody who could have very well helped themselves or very well not been in that predicament in the first place if they had their crap together. How the hell are they going to learn if you're in constant control? They have the opportunity to learn. Not saying I guarantee that everybody's going to learn lessons in this life that creates wholeness within a being. That means you cool being your full self without a mask outside of having to do somebody's job somewhere. Not everybody's going to attain that. And it's something I've had to accept. And it took me a long time to accept it. Now, the other day, it was just perfect around the new moon in Aquarius. I just happened to was hanging out at a friend's place. And we had us a time, child. And it was impromptu, which is last minute. What you doing? I'm just hanging out. Normally me, I am wrapped like a burrito, enjoying somebody's old or new or repeated sci-fi movie, cartoon, or something like that. I like suspense thrillers and sci-fi the most. And I had all my movie lined up for the evening, set up. My blanket was already wrapped and burritoed around me. I had already been cooked. Okay. And I was like, I don't know if I want to leave the house. But I realized I made a promise to myself. It's not a New Year's resolution. I made this promise to myself a while back that I was going to stop being such a homebody. And I was like, you know what? This person, I actually do enjoy that time, and I love spending time with them. And she knows it's about me too. There's only like 2 or 3 places I go. I go hang out with my ex-husband sometimes, and we just have a good time together. And then I go back to my place. So, and like we'll go to the movies, which is rare, or we'll go to the park, or we'll go get coffee or lunch or something, and then, or we'll watch a movie together, and then I'll just go back to my place. He does his thing, or I go out with my friends somewhere. I'll go to a barbecue, but then I go back to my place, and that is even rare. And that spot I've been telling y'all about where I go listen to live music, I go by myself, and when I'm ready to go home, I go home. And I'm going home most of the time before everybody else. I'm in my bed usually by 10:30. I'm not trying to do hanging out in the streets. And I'm fine with that. I'm okay with being boring to others. I know I'm not boring. Inside of here, I am a live wire, and I love me. Anyway, I told myself I'm gonna go ahead and go. And when I get there, we have a lovely conversation about multiple things, and then after a while, because she knows me, she's like, I know, she had an idea something was troubling me, and I realized there were still some things that I'm still, even though I had processed, grieving and loss is something that comes in waves. It still is. And sometimes I get a little arrogant with myself. I'm all healed up. I'm good. See, some people like side street. Not really a side street, but it's still on the main highway, okay? I've seen a lot of memes and little video clips of people expressing the viewpoint that I said I'm healing. I am not healed. I will still do A, B, C, and D. And it's usually like a pejorative or expletive about how they're going to beat somebody up if they mess with them. And I used to think that was like legit where I was. And I'm like, that's a great way of looking at things. I'm healing, I'm not healed. But see, here's where I will dissent. And that's We can manifest everything else in this world. You mean to tell me we can't manifest healing? We can be delulu about everything else in this world when we're talking about delulu, but we can't manifest healing or being healed. Somebody questioned me about it when I said I posted something about being healed and hoping that happens for anybody who wants it. And they were like sarcastic about, oh, you so are aggressive for somebody who's so healed. Oh, they got blocked not long after that because I was like, I'm going to give you some time and space to show me, because I realized that you've been following me as a low-key hater, and that don't really bother me. But the fact that you're going to try me disrespectfully, get out of my face. So they're blocked now, but the point remained that I'm like, honey, even if it's your opinion that I am not healed based on the vibe you think you're getting, honey, to me, I am. Even if I'm being delusional about it. Because actually, even though it hurts sometimes, in my regular everyday life, I don't wish harm on the people who hurt me. I don't think about them. I live a very happy and joyful life. There are sometimes I'll remember that loneliness is a thing that humans experience sometimes. But outside of that, I'm good. So during this conversation with this friend, I realized that there was still some grief left in me. I have some friends and family members that I saw as family members that have hurt me so damn deeply that I don't feel like sometimes I can dig it all the way out in this life. But I want to, for several reasons. Y'all could have learned something else, but this is what I had learned from my elders. Is that karma is not just what you do, it's also what you don't do. It's also what you hold on to. And I don't want to leave here with karma. That's for me. That's why forgiveness is for you. That's what I got from it. It's for you to have peace in this life while you're still living, but also peace after this life. Not everybody believes that something happens after there's anything that goes on after you leave this matter. I prefer to believe that that's a limited viewpoint, but I don't knock anybody who believes that. Let them go ahead and have that peace, because if that gives them peace, then who am I to question it? Nobody. But for me and my beliefs, we go on energetically. And that's from not just a spiritual space, but a quantum physical space. And if I go on, and I do believe I do know if, when I go on from this place, I don't want to take no negativity with me. I hope I heal everything, even the parts that I feel like it's like a deep well of hurt and pain. And every single time I dig out a layer, now I'm getting emotional. Damn it! It's not that I don't care. I don't care if y'all see me shed tears. It's just that it's disruptive to my mental process. That's why I would say damn it. But I hope that, every single time I dig out one layer of the grief and the loss, there's another layer below it that I didn't even realize. And that's what happened when we're like, I say 2 or 3 hours in and a couple glasses of wine and, just doing our thing, laughing and joking. And it just got real deep, which I enjoy deep conversation, child. And she's a Libra, so me and Libras get on like this here, okay? I think it's because I have a Libra moon, and midhaven is like this auto attraction on top of being an air sign myself. But she asked me some real poignant questions that I wasn't prepared for, but I'm gonna be me regardless. But it also made me realize that there are parts of me that was still grieving, and it hadn't even occurred to me. So I hit that deep well. It's like, oh, there's a part of me that doesn't want to see anybody's downfall that hurt me, but it's a part of me that still wants justice. But I don't want to be the one to give it to them. I know there's a lot of people who go online and speak their grievances, and I told y'all I did that in my own way. But I never wanted to go so deep that I just destroyed someone and name names and all that. And even after it was done and I started feeling better and getting better, so part of me that's like, I never want to do that again. I understand why I did it. I understand I felt like I was backed in a corner. But I don't want to ever be backed in a corner again. I don't ever want to be around people who would treat me that way or do those things to me. And maybe there's some part of me that attracted that vibe, and I had to examine my own shit and realize I had participation points in that situation too, and then heal those things and figure out those things. And so where I am right now, I thought I was well past being her, even though I love her to pieces because she's who got me here. You understand? Her two legs walk right where I am right now. So I'm not gonna knock on who I was. I am she and she is me. I'm just saying she added some experience points that are beautiful, and I love her for doing that. Anyway, but when I hit that deep well and I realized that I still had those feelings of pain associated with the fact that I felt like they got away with it, all of them, I don't know what to do with that feeling. Is it the worst they got? Just me calling them out without even using their names? Then that's not real retribution for what was done and what was taken, is it? So how do I reconcile that? Because they're never going. If somebody who doesn't feel bad for what they did gets away for having done what they've done, I have to actually make peace with the fact that they never will, and what that also could mean for me in that moment. Those people actually may have not loved me. Maybe they couldn't love themselves and therefore couldn't love me. I'm not one of those people that believes that you can't love other people if you don't love yourself. I don't believe that. I don't believe love works that way. I believe you absolutely can love other people if you don't love yourself. But I find it hard to believe that someone can love you and leave you in pain and not make amends. Which takes me to where the bottom of the well went, is reconciling the fact that there are people that didn't love me. And the anger that I felt and experienced in the past was because I thought maybe that anger would trigger some level of taking responsibility for what they had done, because they'd see me in pain. And I realized this now. I didn't realize this then. I was just pissed. And they do something about it. Because I've long since confessed myself. I didn't feel a need to. It's not about explaining myself or saying, oh, I need to say these things. It was more for my healing. It was part of my prescription for myself and from my elders. If you gonna heal, you gotta tell the truth about your own shit. I've long since and repeatedly. Another reason why I think I don't judge people is I realize sometimes it's just hard to see what is up and what is down and what is good and what is bad, especially when you're in a moment and you're already in pain. So I take them as they are, and I leave them as they are if they're going to be a problem or a detriment to me, hun. Outside of that, I don't have no space for it. And so when I hit that part, I went from chilling, calm, and collected to almost enraged. Not because of what was done, because I'm well past that. Because I even still had any negative feelings about it. Or not negative, I suppose, but hurt. Still left in there about it. Like, why do they get to have this piece of me still? And why it was so many all at the same time doing it. And then they recruited more people who I thought would know better that didn't. And that confused me even further. It made me withdraw a lot. I think that's probably why I got so comfortable being in my own energy now. They're like, oh, I don't trust people. People isn't. And then I realized, okay, said, if you're going to talk about it, you need to be about it. You need to examine this. Examine it fully. Not from what they did to you. Oh, no. You need to examine why you still feel this way about it, because it's not still happening. And you're okay. Just like I've previously stated, karma is not only what you do, it's what you don't do, and what you allow when you can do something about it. And I think that's part of what has gotten me to a space of, ugh, what do we do about it? I don't really have a full desire to do anything about it. And the times that I do, it never, I'll actually record, I have in the past recorded videos where I'm talking about these things. Not naming names still, because I have no desire to do that. And like, I'll finish the recording, and sometimes I've even uploaded it and took it down before anybody saw it. Because I really just don't want to re-engage it. So I'm like, what is it about me that doesn't want to fight these battles? I don't know what the answer is. All I know is that sometimes it hurts. And I think some part of me was reconciling the fact that there are going to be times where it hurts, even if I'm healed. Don't like button. I don't like that. And I was fighting against my own self with that realization, and it made me so angry. Because I know me. I've been through enough. I don't deserve to feel pain of the things that were done anymore. And I don't know how to let it go. So, here's what I got as a conclusion to that. Excuse me. Here's what I got as a conclusion to that. And as a bright note, is that I came to a place of acceptance that anytime those things are brought up, I may be triggered. But I also realized that my genuine self has attracted people around me in that time period as I was healing that love me for me, even though they're perfectly imperfect too. And the funny thing about it, it's so weird and wild. There were specific zodiac signs in that troop of people. And I also realized, which made me come back from tears to laughter, and she and I were talking about it too, is that every single zodiac sign of the people who did me the most dirty, at least in the last decade, are all in my friend group now. So I say, what does that mean? Does that mean that I have not learned a lesson and I'm about to repeat some lessons? Or does that mean that I figured out a vibration of the type of folks I like, and I just found them in humans who have figured more things out than the humans I was previously encountering? I don't know what that means. But what I settled on was, I don't have conflict with these people, generally speaking. There are times where I speak my mind and speak my truth, and that's sometimes uncomfortable because I can have a tendency to be harsh and not check myself about that too. But I realized even in that moment how much I was relying upon someone else to be honorable and giving so much to, like, it's kind of like this. I have say for instance, I have $10,000, right? And I had that same group of people. And I'm like, all right, I have $10,000. Now, none of them have $10,000. They have what they have, and they just have enough. And everybody knows about the $10,000 and where it's at. And I'm dependent upon them to protect it. Even though it's mine, I can protect it myself on my own solo doodle. But for some reason, my brain told me I need to depend on somebody else to protect this $10,000. And at the end of the day, everybody's been skimming off the top and taking off the top, and I don't even realize until I realize I'm down to $1. And now I feel betrayed because I trusted everybody who knew about this $10,000, even though they didn't have the $10,000. But now they all have my money, and now I'm mad. What I've learned between that time and now is that if I protect my own money, then nobody else can steal it. Now, transfer that metaphor to energy. If I protect my own energy and form secure attachments, not insecure, because I realized all those bonds were great when they were great, but they were awful when they were awful. But we had insecure attachments to each other and needed to be more healthy. And I needed to be more healthy in my bonds and my securities. And in that healing process up until now, I've learned the deep-seated abandonment issues that I've had So deep seated. And it's not even I had a choice anymore. It's not like I'm choosing it. It's just something that the construct that I lived as a child up until that point of meeting all those people was just walking around with abandonment or and trusting too deeply. And I'm okay with trusting people now. I wasn't okay before. I am okay with trusting people now because I don't need to tell nobody where my energy at or where my money at or where my abundance lies. I don't need to give everything away anymore so that somebody can share it with me. If they figure out a way to share it with me or they get to a certain space with me, I don't tell nobody about nothing I'm not willing to lose. That way the responsibility is all mine. And I also realize I don't have to give nobody all of me to be close to them. I can give them some of me. And some of me could just be for me. And I'm okay with that too. I sat there and had all these realizations. So shout out to my girl. Sat there and had all these realizations. And she had a few of her own. And I realized sometimes that you can come across as somebody who is holier than thou. And I do not feel that or think that, just so y'all know. There's just some things I've learned along the way, the hard way, the long way, that I know other people have not experienced. And if I have had to experience those things, then I want to be able to share it with you so you don't have to. That's it. But I would encourage you to understand, trust, and know that it's okay sometimes. If you get to a space where you feel like you are healed, and I do, even though I still struggle, and it's okay to be deluded about that, without being arrogant, that is a bonus. Not being arrogant about it. The healed me see someone acting a fool, and I'm just like, I wish you weren't doing that, but I'm gonna remove myself. I'm gonna try my best, and then keep it pushing. Period. And that's, I think, the biggest get is also understanding that play and being childlike is a win. Having the ability to be childlike is a win. Loving yourself in all its parts is a win. Not having insecure attachments is the win. Do we all need to be these ethereal divine beings? No. Although we all are, believe it or not. But everybody will get there in their own day, in their own way, in their own lifetime, in their own timelines, honey. Another thing I realized I was doing, and she helped me call myself out on, I used to be so harsh and trying to pull somebody along with me to grow, to excel, to ascend. Like, come! And I realized, yes, part of it, genuinely, I just wanted the person to have a better existence because I loved them. Still love them. But second of it, I was tired of being alone with it. Be alone. It felt like very alone and understanding a lot of these things. So I used to inundate them sometimes with information to try to see what would trigger their brain to wake up, trigger their brain to want to live a different type of existence, trigger their brain to break out of the social mode and constructs while still being able to fruitfully take care of themselves. We can walk and chew gum. But I realized how harsh I was and how intimidating that can be, how exhausting that can be sometimes. Just me. I don't have to be that. I don't have to pull somebody with me. I can accept them where they are and enjoy their time in their company without having them have to be me or where I am. And that's something I had troubles and difficulties doing before. I don't have to do that anymore. The sun done set and everything while I'm talking to y'all. I do believe in this life, my biggest purpose is to heal myself. And I think that's the biggest purpose for all of us, is to heal ourselves. But the second purpose is to accept others where they are and welcome them in once they open the door to the room you're in. If that room is an upper room, you can guide them up the stairs and send them a roadmap if they ask you. But it's very off-putting and sometimes disrespectful when you slap the map in the directions to the upper room in their face and tell them that they're not good enough until they do what you say. I don't believe in that either. And I never believed in that. But I used to do it unconsciously. So I had to check me. And the second part was understanding how angry I was capable of being before. I'm still capable of divine rage, don't get it twisted. My hope is that I never have to be in that vibration. My hope is that I can just vibrate and realize, okay, if the floor needs sweeping and mopping, I can go ahead and mop the floor, but I ain't got to be mad about it. You understand? If there's things I need to do with my divine energy, I don't need to be angry while doing it. I don't need to be triggered in order to do it. Because let me tell you something. This is for the ones who understand what I'm about to say. And a lot of times these are people who understand and have become well versed in astrology out of nowhere in the last 5 years. Babe, I don't have a need, and I don't recommend anybody has a have a need and desire to be separate or above anybody. Okay? But one of the biggest things that I thought was always going to be is that something painful had to happen to me in order to activate my energy. Something extreme had to occur for me to activate my energy. And that used to be true. And when that switch would flip, sometimes I would just lose track of space and time. But that also kept me from being behind the wheel. I don't experience that the same way anymore, and that's another indicator to me that I've healed. I don't have to be in the background allowing my energy to do what it does. I can always be at the wheel and work alongside it. I'm not separate from this. I don't have to be triggered to know that, hey, that is an injustice. I don't have to be angry to know. I can be aware that that is an injustice and just meditate on that. And pour energy into that. And try my best to right that wrong without having to be triggered into anger or rage or frustration for my energy to explode up out of me. Because inevitably I still have to live with me and look myself in the mirror and be like, did you take it too far? Sis, you took it too far again. I don't want to have those conversations with myself anymore. Not just because they're uncomfortable, but if there's something I can do about that and operate differently, then I'm going to try to do that. And that's what I've set out to do. And I believe I've successfully done that. Do I still get frustrated sometimes? Yes. I am not above frustration, but I try to control less, so I get frustrated less. Oh, I don't have control over that. That makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm going to release this discomfort because it's not whatever that was that decided to, whether person, place, or thing that decided to leave me, it wasn't meant for me right now or at all. Whereas before I used to fight for every crumb of everything I thought was mine, I felt was mine. And I realized there is nothing that I control but me. But here's the thing about that. This is the last note because I've been talking at y'all for a minute now. Here's the thing about that. Once you realize there is nothing you can control but you, now you're responsible for actually controlling you. And this is why, and the biggest reason why I dissent on people saying, I am healing, I'm not healed. I will do A, B, C, or D to you if you upset me. Because that means it takes away your responsibility. And if you find yourself thinking or believing at some point in the last 10 years that you're one of them people whose energy works for you and for others, how come you're not responsible at this point for what your energy does and your behavior does and your action does? How come you're not responsible? I hold us, when I say us, I mean the collective us, who have figured out how to get to an upper room without perceiving, hopefully, that they're better than anybody else. Because we were once in the lower departments. I think we're more responsible, not less, for what we do and what we say and how we act. It's one of the reasons why I feel like energetically my guides be popping me on the back of my neck every time I be cussing. especially if I'm doing so when I'm doing this work. Hold on one second. I think it is getting a little bit, hold on, a little bit too dim in here. So I'm going to turn on a light. Boop. I am back. Yeah, that works. But I think that we are more responsible, not less, for our behavior and our actions. If I do believe more than anything else, other than just changing the world and hopefully healing the world, we're responsible for being guides ourselves. And guides are not just talking and giving lip service. Guide also means like you're a flashlight in the darkness. How come it's okay for you to still be violent and pure and pour vitriol on the world? We want the world to heal, to be different, to have justice, to be something that is supreme and balanced. But yet we are imbalanced and we're behaving in balance. And we're saying it's okay to be in balance because we're still on our way to healing. Then why claim that you're one of these people that are awakened, that have ascended? Why claim to be this if you can't act like this? And this is not me judging, this is me assessing. And this is me asking myself those questions a long time ago. Everybody else is doing what everybody else is doing. I think part of our biggest job is to show people how to feel joy even in times of the struggles. And yes, talk about injustice when injustice needs to be talked about, but we don't need to make the other side or the other team our energy and our enemy in order to do that. We are brilliant. We are lights. We can find a way to do that without creating more karma, because we are guides. As we speak, as we act, sometimes others follow. So if you use your energy and your voice to direct people to hurt each other that don't know no better, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, you have just created more karma, not just for yourself, but everybody else involved in that. And I could be wrong, but that's just a feeling. And that's how I choose to operate. Not that I stand on the fence, no. Because I know, for example, and I'm going to make a clear example. I'm over an hour. I'm going to make a clear example. People who voted for Trump and people who voted for Kamala, this is what my stand is. It don't have to be yours. We as guides, it is not our job to tell this side that this side is awful, or to tell this side that this side is awful. It is our job to help them see commonalities between each other, help them care about each other, so that the people who create these false strifes can be looked at by both of them. Now, it ain't no easy task. I'm going to tell you right now, that ain't no easy task, child. But I wish more and more people saw it that way. I really do. But before I need a company, I don't always need company. I feel very confident that we'll eventually get there someday. Because I'll be the first one to tell you. I think the people who are in power, as they call it, are the ones who stoke these things. Because then we won't actually see that we're all enslaved in some way. Well, many are enslaved in some way. Because if everybody notices that it doesn't matter what side you're on, you're both in this slavery. And there's only a few masters, then they will never rebel against that. And shout out to Haiti in that regard, because I don't think any peoples have suffered more as it pertains to rebelling against overlords. And yeah, sometimes that's hard. All of it. But we ain't signed up for no easy task, did we? That doesn't mean we have to be the hate that we see in the world. No. There's a part of me that's all about fighting. I call homegirls all about F and F. One of them is fighting. But I would say, even that aspect of me sees the benefit of spreading love, at least now. Some call it shadow integration, some call it other things. I'm just glad it is and within me, and I hope it becomes more within you. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all again soon. You're loved.